In the quaint town of Willowbrook, nestled amidst rolling hills and dense forests, lived a young woman named Emily. She resided in a cozy little cottage on the edge of town, surrounded by tall trees that whispered secrets in the wind. Emily had always been fascinated by the supernatural, drawn to stories of ghosts and urban legends that lurked in the shadows. One chilly autumn evening, as Emily sat by her window, engrossed in a spine-tingling novel, she caught movement out of the corner of her eye. Peering through the glass, her heart skipped a beat when she saw a figure standing on the dimly lit street corner. It was a clown, dressed in vibrant colors, with a painted-on grin stretched across his face. In his hand, he held a single, blood-red balloon that swayed gently in the breeze. A shiver ran down Emily's spine as she realized the clown was staring directly at her window, his gaze piercing through the darkness. She quickly drew the curtains shut, hoping to shake off the uneasy feeling creeping over her. But despite her efforts to ignore it, a sense of dread lingered in the air. Night after night, the clown returned to the same corner, always with his haunting gaze fixed on Emily's window. She tried to convince herself it was just a figment of her imagination, a trick of the mind brought on by the eerie atmosphere of the season. But deep down, she knew there was something unnatural about the clown's presence. As the days passed, Emily's once peaceful nights turned into a living nightmare. Strange noises echoed through the cottage, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, twisting and contorting into sinister shapes. And every time she dared to look out the window, the clown was there, his painted smile mocking her from the darkness. Desperate for answers, Emily sought out the town's elder, a wise old woman rumored to possess knowledge of the occult. With trembling hands, she recounted her tale of the clown on the corner, hoping for guidance in banishing the malevolent presence that plagued her. The elder listened intently, her expression growing somber as Emily spoke. When she had finished, the old woman sighed heavily and spoke in a voice tinged with sorrow. "The clown you see is no ordinary specter," she explained. "It is a harbinger of darkness, a manifestation of fear and despair. It preys upon those who are vulnerable, feeding on their terror until there is nothing left but empty husks." Emily's blood ran cold at the elder's words, her worst fears confirmed. But before she could ask what could be done to rid herself of the clown's influence, a deafening crash echoed through the cottage, shaking the very foundation of the building. Rushing to the window, Emily's heart sank as she saw the clown standing just outside, his balloon now twisted into a grotesque shape that seemed to writhe with a life of its own. With a flick of his wrist, he sent the balloon hurtling towards the glass, shattering it into 1,000 razor-sharp shards. In a blind panic, Emily fled from the cottage, the sinister laughter of the clown echoing in her ears. She raced through the streets of Willowbrook, the darkness swallowing her whole as she searched for sanctuary from the nightmare that pursued her. But no matter where she turned, the clown was always there, his painted grin a constant reminder of the terror that had consumed her life. And as Emily disappeared into the night, her fate forever entwined with that of the clown on the corner, the townsfolk whispered in hushed tones of the cursed cottage where the shadows danced, and the laughter of the damned could still be heard echoing through the night. As Emily's desperate flight continued, she stumbled upon an old, abandoned carnival grounds at the outskirts of town. The faded remnants of merry-go-rounds and dilapidated tents loomed eerily in the moonlight, casting long, ominous shadows across the barren landscape. Feeling a chill run down her spine, Emily hesitated at the entrance, the air thick with a sense of foreboding. But with the relentless laughter of the clown echoing in her ears, she knew she had no choice but to seek refuge within the eerie confines of the carnival grounds. As she cautiously made her way through the deserted fairground, the rustling of leaves and the creaking of rusted metal filled her ears, each sound magnified by the oppressive silence of the night. It felt as though the very air was alive with the malevolent energy of the clown, taunting her at every turn. Suddenly, Emily heard a faint whispering coming from the shadows ahead, like the murmurs of lost souls calling out from beyond the grave. Drawing closer, she discovered a decrepit tent, its fabric tattered and torn, flapping ominously in the cold wind. With a trembling hand, Emily pushed aside the worn canvas and stepped inside, the darkness enveloping her like a suffocating blanket. But as her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she realized she was not alone. Standing in the center of the tent was the clown, his painted features contorted into a grotesque mask of madness. His eyes gleamed with a malevolent light as he advanced towards her, the twisted balloon in his hand pulsating with an otherworldly energy. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she backed away, the walls of the tent closing in around her like the jaws of a beast. With nowhere left to run, she knew she had only one chance to escape the nightmare that had consumed her. Summoning all of her courage, Emily reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, silver locket that had been passed down through generations of her family. With a whispered incantation, she opened the locket, revealing a shimmering light that seemed to defy the darkness itself. The clown recoiled in horror as the light enveloped him, his twisted form writhing in agony as he was consumed by the pure, cleansing energy of the locket. With a final shriek of anguish, he vanished into the ether, leaving behind nothing but a faint echo of his malevolent laughter. As the last remnants of the clown's presence faded away, Emily collapsed to the ground, the weight of her ordeal finally lifting from her weary shoulders. And as the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, she knew that she had triumphed over the darkness that had threatened to consume her soul. But even as she emerged from the shadows, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the nightmare was far from over. For in the depths of her heart, she knew that the clown on the corner would forever haunt her dreams, a sinister reminder of the horrors that lurked in the darkness of the human mind. Weeks passed since Emily's harrowing encounter at the abandoned carnival grounds, but the memory of the clown's malevolent presence continued to haunt her every waking moment. Though she tried to convince herself that it was all just a figment of her imagination, a part of her remained convinced that the darkness she had faced was all too real. Determined to reclaim her sense of normalcy, Emily threw herself into her daily routine, burying herself in her work and avoiding anything that reminded her of the horrors she had witnessed. But no matter how hard she tried to push the memories away, they lingered in the back of her mind like a festering wound. One evening, as Emily sat alone in her cottage, a sudden knock at the door shattered the fragile illusion of peace she had built around herself. With trembling hands, she made her way to the entrance, her heart pounding in her chest with every step. As she swung the door open, Emily's blood ran cold at the sight that greeted her. Standing on her doorstep was a young boy, his face painted in garish colors, a twisted balloon animal clutched in his hand. But it was not the sight of the boy that filled her with dread, but the familiar glint of madness in his eyes. Before Emily could react, the boy spoke in a voice that sent shivers down her spine. "You can't run from me, Emily," he said, his words dripping with malice. "I'll always be with you, lurking in the shadows, waiting to claim what is rightfully mine." With a strangled cry, Emily slammed the door shut, the sound reverberating through the empty cottage like a death knell. She knew then that the nightmare was far from over, that the darkness she had faced was not so easily vanquished. Terrified and alone, Emily retreated to the safety of her room, the echoes of the clown's laughter ringing in her ears. And as she huddled in the darkness, clutching the silver locket that had once been her salvation, she knew that the battle against the darkness had only just begun. For the clown on the corner was not merely a figment of her imagination, but a manifestation of something far more sinister, something that lurked in the depths of the human soul, waiting to claim its next victim. And until Emily could confront the darkness within herself, she would forever be trapped in the nightmare that had consumed her life. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the specter of the clown continued to haunt Emily's every waking moment. No matter how hard she tried to move on, the memory of that fateful night at the carnival grounds lingered like a dark cloud over her life. As the anniversary of her encounter with the clown approached, Emily found herself consumed by a sense of dread unlike anything she had ever experienced before. It was as though the very fabric of reality was unraveling around her, leaving her adrift in a sea of uncertainty and fear. Unable to bear the weight of her torment any longer, Emily sought solace in the one place she had always avoided, the abandoned carnival grounds where her nightmare had begun. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, she made her way through the overgrown pathways and crumbling attractions, each step echoing with the ghosts of the past. As she reached the center of the carnival grounds, Emily found herself face to face with a familiar sight, a lone figure standing amidst the ruins, his painted grin frozen in a grotesque mockery of human emotion. It was the clown, his presence a stark reminder of the horrors she had faced. But as Emily looked into the clown's eyes, she saw something unexpected, a glimmer of humanity buried deep within the madness. For the first time since that fateful night, she felt a flicker of empathy for the creature that had tormented her for so long. With a newfound sense of determination, Emily approached the clown, her heart heavy with the weight of all she had lost. "Why do you haunt me?" she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath in the stillness of the night. The clown's gaze softened, the madness receding like a tide ebbing away from the shore. "I am but a reflection of your fears," he replied, his voice tinged with sorrow. "I am the darkness that dwells within us all, waiting to be unleashed upon the world." As Emily listened to the clown's words, she felt a surge of understanding wash over her like a cleansing wave. She realized then that the true battle she faced was not against some external force of evil, but against the darkness that lurked within her own soul. With a deep breath, Emily reached out to the clown, her hand trembling with uncertainty. And as their fingers touched, she felt a spark of connection, a shared bond forged in the crucible of fear and despair. In that moment, Emily knew that she had finally found the courage to confront the darkness that had haunted her for so long. And as she embraced the clown, their laughter mingling with the whispers of the night, she understood that true redemption could only be found in embracing the shadows that lurked within us all. As Emily embraced the clown, a sense of peace washed over her, filling the void that had consumed her for so long. In that fleeting moment of connection, she realized that the true power to banish the darkness lay not in fear or avoidance, but in acceptance and understanding. With newfound resolve, Emily and the clown walked hand in hand through the deserted carnival grounds, the echoes of their laughter mingling with the rustling of leaves and the distant cry of nocturnal creatures. Together, they confronted the shadows that lurked in the darkest corners of their souls, unraveling the tangled threads of fear and despair that had bound them for so long. As dawn broke over the horizon, Emily and the clown stood side by side, their eyes alight with the fire of newfound purpose. Though their journey had been fraught with peril and uncertainty, they emerged stronger and wiser, united in their quest to confront the darkness that threatened to consume them. And as they watched the first rays of sunlight illuminate the world around them, Emily knew that she had finally found the courage to face whatever trials lay ahead. For in the embrace of the clown on the corner, she had discovered the true power of love and acceptance, a beacon of hope in a world shrouded in darkness.
Like, subscribe, and click on notifications that will allow you to stay up to date with the news and not miss videos from the channel, where there will be many more horror stories.